Greetings, Poe fans. Welcome to another edition of Poe Unplugged. I am Carmen Bolden.
And I am Jeannie Smith, and we are
The Poetastic Two.
Come zoom with us into the Unbook Club dedicated to the works of Mr. Edgar Allan Poe.
We are very excited everybody is here for this episode of Poe Unplugged, and we are ready to mask up for Masque of the Red Death.
Yeah.
So how did everybody enjoy reading it?
Yeah, what were your first thoughts about it?
Yes.
Well,
we heard from Will what his thoughts were.
Will liked it. It was chilling. Yes, it is.
Yes.
One of his best openings, I think. He kind of just describes it. I mean, it's like a power punch right from the beginning with this one.
I agree. Yep. Yes, and the end in his ending, that line always just chills me. It really does. It does.
It literally, I just thought about it. I literally just got goosebumps. I was just
yes.
Yes.
Like, cool.
Yeah, totally agree. And one of the things, like Jeannie and I we always talk about things. We should probably record those and put them out as bloopers, our discussions, our planning discussions, because some of the things that come out of what we talk about is really kind of funny.
I don't think I want it to be recorded because they use it against me to get me committed.
That's true. That's true.
So Micah also said so creepy, especially after the COVID era. Exactly. Yes. That's one of the reasons why I brought it up. So
yes, absolutely. Yep. I'm going to go ahead and actually take my mask off. It gets a little bit hot.
Yes.
But one of the things we were talking about is the colors of the rooms are so prominent and so important because they all have different meanings. And so you can kind of tell that we have some blue lighting out on, my husband and I can't even speak tonight. See? Our back porch is a screen-in porch, and we have blue lights up. And so the first room that Prince Prospero starts in is the blue room, which is the east room, the furthest room in the house, and it represents birth.
But also, once you brought up being at east, cardinal directions also represent different things.
Yes.
Like east when the sun rises, so that also has a recognition of being birth also.
Yes.
So
very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
Back in Poe's day when he was writing this, they didn't have the psychological aspects of the different colors.
Right.
That didn't come around until the late 1800s when you had, Freud, and then you had Jung, and then you have Skinner, and you have all the others doing all these wonderful experiments on people.
Mm-hmm. Very
sarcastically.
True. So. And then, throughout the story, he moves to purple, which is growth. Mm-hmm. Green is spring and youth. Orange, summer and autumn. Mm-hmm. White, old age. And you can also kind of say winter with the snow. Violet, impending death. And then at the end, kind of to the west, is black for death. And one of the things that Jeannie brought up, I'll let you jump in here.
Okay.
The connection of the seasons to the colors as well.
Yeah, and it also has the religious connotation of the Ecclesiastes, section 3, where it's written, and a lot of people, especially we were discussing this, a lot of musicians like the Byrds did a song that had to deal with this. To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven, a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. So it's like when I was reading The Masque of the Red Death, I was literally reading the King James version of the Ecclesiastes, because he's, and we've already talked about the many different religious aspects that Poe likes to put into his stories, whether he's really just putting it there because he's religious or he just has found there's a tie into it. So
any thoughts on what you guys kind of interpreted from any of this?
Agree, disagree, your own interpretations?
Yeah.
Bring it on.
Now, I really do feel that, especially with the colors of the room. I was going to say before you all started talking about the colors of the rooms, I was like, the way he uses the colors. Oh my gosh! I mean,
Yes.
it's very like when you're reading it on the page, like at least with the way my brain works, all I could see was like a room where everything was just that color, and that's what I see in
Mhm.
my head. And I know that in his time, they didn't really have not the same kind of correlations that we do now with representations of various things with colors, but certain colors did mean certain things, like,
Mhm.
and especially with the colors that Prospero had in his rooms, that really
Yes.
signified his wealth. But also, yes, the cardinal directions, yes,
Mhm.
the various directions do mean certain things, and it is like a plotting from the time you start till the time you end, and not ready to go into the black chamber yet, but yet
Yes.
the red death goes from one end to the other, and boom, there you are.
Yes. And quoting Poe, like a thief in the night.
Yeah. And it's a true
Correct.
circle of life.
Mm-hmm.
Since you're
Mm-hmm.
starting in the blue room of birth and then you're going to the black of death,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of odd because, purple has also been associated with that of royalty.
Mm-hmm.
So
Correct.
the
Yep.
purple room
Yep.
having to be the second room, which would be growth going into that king's title or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
Mm-hmm.
Will, since you're new to this neck of the woods, give us some of your thoughts about your reading and what you agree or disagree, or hey, just bring it.
Note,
Shoot me.
notice agreements, and I must apologize for my Zoom kind of conking out there a few minutes ago. But no, I
That's
agree
okay.
with, yeah, no, but I agree with the significance of the different rooms and their sort of progression. Nothing really to add on that, but yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, and it just the one thing too, we're kind of trying to watch all the Roger Corman Poe movies. I've seen most of them. I think Gina, you've seen
Yeah,
some or
I've
all
seen
of them.
about half of them.
And I've watched Masque of the Red Death multiple times, and the coloring that he used in the movie is beautiful for the costumes, the rooms,
Amazing.
and e-
Amazing.
yes. And the only thing I wish they would have done was kept the true colors that Poe used, because there is a beautiful like gold yellow room that is
Mhm.
beautiful, gorgeous, but he didn't have a yellow room. Or
Nope.
maybe Prince Prospero did and we just didn't hear about it. But that was the only thing I would criticize on that part of the movie. Just because they do go way off the deep end. But
And
yeah.
also,
Oh yeah.
you have to take into consideration that when Corman was doing these movies, I mean, the color television had just been in like maybe a
Oh,
decade.
yes, yes.
So they
Yep.
were still having a lot of trouble getting the right color matching with the
Yes.
TV.
Absolutely.
Because everything was
Right.
kind of still black and white, and you had to work with the hues and the shades. That was really.
Yes.
Oh, Will, you haven't seen the Red Death yet? Ooh,
I haven't seen the movie, no,
Oh
yeah.
gosh.
Okay. Yeah,
nice.
Woo!
definitely check it out. And
Definitely see that.
yeah, and he
Yeah,
said
Right.
he does own House of Usher, and yeah,
nice.
that's a fantastic one. It
Now,
really
I remember
is.
the first time I watched The Mask of the Red Death wasn't with Vincent Price.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually with
Oh.
Rene. I always butcher his last name.
Auberjonis.
Yeah, Alberjanus, the Data. Data from
Oh.
Star Trek.
No,
Next,
Odo.
yeah, Odo. Well, I knew it was Star Trek. It's
That yes,
Deep Space
yes,
Nine.
yes.
So,
Oh yes.
but yeah,
I'd
that's
like
the
to see
first one
Brent
I saw.
Spiner in that role.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I could too. I could
Well, he
too.
would fit work because that's why I always get him and Odo mixed up half the time
Yes. Oh, I know. I
because they were
know.
so much alike. But
All
anyway,
right. Any other thoughts on the colors from anybody?
yeah.
Like, dislike? Holly, with you being an artist, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I guess I really like the colors and the rooms and everything, but I don't know, maybe I have a love for architecture, but I love the how he explains the stained glass window with the light coming
Yes.
through. It's like kind of highlights
Mhm.
everything. For me, it just gives a real visual, like something like even though everything's in color, kind of haunted. Because if anybody's ever been near a real stained glass window, they know exactly how those colors do seem to kind of tint everything around. I collect old glass bottles, like the old-fashioned kind. They're all colored. They're really just beautiful, and they're just really funky to look at. So in my mind, it kind of creates like this almost like foggy, kind of eerie sense within the room.
Oh
Plus,
yeah,
the fire, in the sense, like I'm sure there's like smoke and everything. So it just kind of helps, I think, really set the scene with the window, the colored glass.
yeah. Oh, I agree. And yeah, the stained glass is just phenomenal. It really is. I'm going to show you guys let me go back over to my screen and share some art I did that, let's see,
Just put share. Yeah.
give me just a second. And this is my kind of interpretation
Just hit share.
of this is I used this is not the mask I just had on overlaid over this. I actually painted this on, and then I created my mask later for the costume. But I did all the, just kind of coming into the center with the clock. The stained glass, wasn't able to really do that well, just because I was doing it kind of on the edges. But I really I mix my own colors when I paint, which is not as often as I like. But I tried to represent the colors as best as I could from Poe's interpretation.
Yeah, and Micah.
Cool. That's very cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, Micah mentioned in the chat box. Hold on, we gotta go back down.
Yes, yeah, we've got.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
Each color does remind me of the different experiences in one's life. It's very true, and all those experiences will soon come to an end.
Yes.
And he said he saw a live production once. Nice. Every time the actor took another step, the light changed to that corresponding color, and it was genuinely chilling, beautiful.
Oh, that is so cool.
Gosh, that's amazing.
That I would love to see that. And then Leila said, I agree, beautiful colors. And Will said, it just occurred to me that the black room with the purple light also symbolizes denial, as the colors look like dried blood. So perhaps deep down, the Prince Prospero and his guests are sure death has come. That is very cool. That is really cool.
And I mean, and it's just like with anything else, the one true factor in life is we're all born to die.
Yes.
That's, from beginning to end, it's how we live in the middle. And also, we all have those mortality fears about the end of time, and trying to escape it, and trying to live longer, and trying to just not be a part of making it faster.
Right.
We don't want to go and meet it before it gets here.
Yes, absolutely. Also, to me, the rooms kind of conjure up a dreamlike state, the way Poe wrote them, which adds that note of surrealism. And so every time I read it, I always think of Salvador Dali, and how he could have created a dreamscape like he did with Hitchcock and Spellbound, with colors, rather than, because Spellbound was black and white. And to me, he could have just made that come to life just amazingly.
I mean, it would just be, I was telling Carmen earlier, The Persistence of Time, one of the most famous of Salvador Dali, where the clocks are just melting.
Yeah.
They're in different stages on the painting. And so, and also if you go back to the wording that Edgar uses in The Masque of the Red Death, not just using different colors, but the actual use of the artistic language.
Yes.
Like he uses the terms painted, he uses hue, he uses shade, he uses tone. I mean, he uses all the right trigger words for an artist and how they put it onto canvas.
Yeah, we actually listened to a reading from the Poe Museum to kind of refresh our brains, because it's been a little bit of time since we've actually read it. And one of the things, Jeannie paused it and said, I want to go back and read this, just actually physically read it with her eyes rather than listening, and count how many times Poe brings up those keywords of paint, tone, those kinds of things. It'd be very interesting to see.
Yeah. And you think about the mask during the time of the Black Death, the mask that they wore because they thought that it would protect them from the disease is kind of an homage, I think, that Poe put in there with the mask. So even though it kind of looked like a creepy, long-nosed stork,
sometimes raven-like,
looked dead to me, but
yeah,
it was creepy all the way around.
Other thoughts from you guys? We want to hear from you guys. We have another chat message. Let's see. Yeah, jump in anytime. All right, Micah said, from now on, when I read the story and hear the clock chime, I'll hear it slow down and droop audibly like one of Dolly's melting clocks. Creepy. Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Once more, my morbid mind,
Oh, yes. All right, thoughts from everybody else?
Come on, let's go.
Well, I don't know if my mic is working. Is it working now?
Yes.
Oh, look at that. All right. Great. So thank you for having me here. So I'm Levi. I'm from Rhode Island and, of course, Virginia. Like she had said, we do the Beyond the Oblong Box podcast together.
Yes.
So, but yeah, I was definitely kind of pondering this idea about the 7 chambers and all the different colors that are in the story. And I think about how Poe was a visual artist, at least at some point in his life, especially in his younger years. I know his peers weren't quite sure whether or not he would be a great artist or writer, because he was great at storytelling. He was great at, at drawing and the arts. And so I just feel like he was always very aware of the imagery in his works.
Yes.
And so, like, Virginia and I were just discussing the Raven, and as descriptive and moody and deep as that poem is, it's also aesthetically very symbolic too, with the black raven overshadowing a pallid white bust of Pallas representing wisdom. And so, like, he's playing off of the colors of the physical things that he's discussing or talking about in his poetry, in his stories. So I think about these 7 chambers, and yeah, I just think that he was trying to play off of that whole idea of, the Red Death. It's a plague being labeled with a color. So he wants to put a color in our head. So if he's going to put a color in our head, he's going to put all the colors in our head and have us play around with them all, And that's just so cool. And it's just something he does so successfully in all his stories, and so that's kind of what came to mind for me with these, colorful chambers.
Wholeheartedly agree.
Absolutely. And
I was going to 7 deadly sins, Micah.
Yes, I totally agree. I could see, and you could probably take the colors and even reference which sins. I mean, green for greed, envy. Yeah, envy. Yes, thank you. Yes. Sorry, my brain is a little tired. And then Will had also added, let's see, he says, to me, the bell was what gave me the chills I mentioned earlier, something about music that makes you dread. Absolutely. And that pulls in that audible, imagery.
And definitely. Once again, it's Edgar playing with his history, because with the Black Death, how they would bury people alive because it would put them in such a coma that they would think they would be dead, but they wouldn't. So they would put them in the box, put them in the ground, tie their finger on a string, put that bell above their grave, and their family members would sit with them for 24 to 48 hours. And if they heard that bell, they'd quickly have to dig them up, or they would suffocate and die for real.
And thus saved by the bell.
Exactly.
Where that comes from. Y'all may have heard that before.
And then the correlation of the bell ringing being with death.
Yes.
You hear the bell ringing, and it's the chimes.
Yes. For whom the bell tolls.
Yes. Church bells. Yeah.
All right, let's bring all the authors in. Let's have them for dinner.
Come on. You got to say, Edgar probably had a little hint of something from each one of them, and they had something from him.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It all works.
One of the other things, and I've actually taught this story to sophomores before, years ago, and they always loved this tale. They did not like House of Usher because they were like, this is way too creepy for us, but they loved Mask of the Red Death. And so I always enjoyed, teaching this one to my students. Unfortunately, it's not in our curriculum anymore. I don't know why, but it's Tennessee. We have different things. But one of the things that I was teaching the other day was combining poetry and music, because sometimes poetry for students, freshmen, 14, 15-year-olds, they're like, they hear me say poetry, they're like, oh, why? And I'm like, there's lots of reasons why. And so we've done lots of Poe works, because I'm like, if I get an opportunity, I'm gonna add him in. But one of the things we did was I gave them song lyrics and didn't tell them they were song lyrics. I just said, these are poems. Every group is going to have a different one. And so I chose All Along the Watchtower because there's so many figurative language devices included in this song. And some of them, a lot of them were like, this one's not a song. I'm like, well, hold on. And so as I started rereading this, analyzing it myself before I taught it, I was like, there's so many things you could pull out of here that really correlate to Masque of the Red Death. And so some of the things that I was like, I'm going to read some of the lines. I'm not going to sing like Jimi Hendrix, though, because we were doing that earlier, being silly.
Nobody can sing like Jimi Hendrix.
No. And mine sounds just silly. But it's hold on. There are many here among us who feel that life is but a joke, kind of like them hiding, from this disease. It's like, oh, it's never going to get us. But you and I, we've been through that, and this is not our fate. So let us stop talking falsely now. The hour's getting late. Kind of going to that clock. The closer the time gets to midnight. And then All Along the Watchtower, princes kept the view, Prince Prospero, while all the women came and went, barefoot servants too. And then, the masquerade. Well, outside in the cold distance, a wildcat did growl. Two riders were approaching, which is death, and the wind began to howl. And then All Along the Watchtower, I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to sing. But those lines kind of just really, I don't know, it just kind of spoke to me. And I was like, this could kind of correlate. I don't know. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, with you reading it like that. I mean, I'm familiar with the song, like not like,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, definitely I can see a correlation there.
Yeah. And one thing I found out, and I didn't realize this until like really digging into this, that Bob Dylan wrote it, and it really made sense. He recorded it first.
Oh, yeah.
His version is definitely not as good as Jimi Hendrix, but it just made a whole lot of sense that he wrote this. And
there's a lot of the same thing. It was Bob Dylan that wrote it.
Yes. And there's a whole lot of different meanings that, you could interpret from what he, mentions. And just from reading a couple articles, he's never really come out and said, what he interprets some of the things, or if they really had a meaning, but a lot of people have put a lot into it. So,
yeah.
Anything else on that line? I always like to throw some things in when I like find those kinds of things.
Well, I mean, it's just like when we were talking about the Ecclesiastes from King James Version, the birds, not the Yardbirds.
Right.
wrong band. The birds did the song Turn, which pretty much is a rendition of that whole verse from Ecclesiastes.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's found in a lot of different places, and it's just another outlet of art that that Poe has had a influence to, whether he did it directly or people just indirectly associated with him.
Yeah, you never know what your brain may have taken from school and or your youth, and then it comes back in other forms.
Hey, I was convinced when I was in school that osmosis worked for me. I would sleep in class on my book. So
that I could see you doing that.
Yeah.
Where I was this.
Yeah, you're writing everything. Me, I'm sleeping on the book. I ain't got time for that. Yeah. It's amazing I became a teacher. Trust me. My old teachers found out I became a teacher and she laughed for 5 minutes. And then she cursed me. She cursed me instead of the mother's curse. She cursed me with a teacher curse. I hope you get one just like you. I'd get one. I'd get a whole class full at the end of every day. I'd be like, this is just mean. All right. So Micah added that the history of Saved by the Bell gives a whole new meaning to Screech. I understand.
Yes.
Yeah. Screech from Saved by the Bell.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. It's so weird that he died. He's the only one of the
I
whole
know.
cast.
Yeah, and Will brought that up that
Yeah.
Screech is sadly dead. Absolutely.
And he was only 44 because he was only 12 when he was on Saved by the Bell.
I know. That's just crazy.
Oh, The Watchmen.
Yeah, and then Micah said both The Watchmen and 1899 use this song, both about tragedy, the passing of time, and alternate realities. Oh, very cool. Okay.
Yep. I was gonna probably say that, but I was like, Micah beat me to it.
Yeah, that is very cool. I have not seen either one of those, so I'll have to check that out.
I haven't seen 1899.
Okay. Yeah. Any other thoughts? Just it can be totally different. Holly, you.
Well, for me, I think one of the coolest things about this is the contrast of this crazy party where people are just being vicious and mean and just really going all out and just loving life when outside everyone's dying. And then with the mask, you know, he wanted them to be the most grotesque, hideous mask you could think of. Which I just love it because I mean my mind just goes crazy with that. But it's like Prince Prosper really wanted to really like hit home that contrast. Like look at this, and then make a mockery of it. Like haha, you're all dying, but we're having this lavish party. And I also kind of like the idea of that. No matter what your mask is, that we all hide behind every day, you can't hide from death. Because at the end, he got in there and he came for everyone, including the prince.
Yep.
So.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
I love the imagery of these really grotesque masks. It's like, well, why are we doing this? I just guess it's like a mockery thing for me.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. And I think Vincent Price in the Corman movie really portrays that very well.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, we're going to beat this.
The donkey. My husband loved that part in the movie where he right. I was like,
yeah.
That was the best part. I was like,
yes.
Yeah, and Will made the comment that it makes him think of the people that denied COVID and making a mockery of wearing the mask by having COVID parties.
Yes.
You know, and this is definitely a modern day version of Masque of the Red Death.
Absolutely. And I mean, fiction is definitely sometimes the reality.
Yeah.
It's really, it's scary to think about it like that. Definitely.
And relevant like 200 years later.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I also liked what Poe did. Oh, I'm sorry, Virginia. I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're fine, honey. Go ahead.
I was just saying that, like, what I really like is that we had talked about the color red, but I like that he actually gave, like, you just didn't die. Like, you know, you actually bled, like, from your face.
Yes.
So I really like that he kind of gave, like, a more tangible, real presence to a disease. Again, just like the artist type of thing, like, really super visual, you know, like the sign of the, like, blood and just I don't know. I think that's kind of neat because I've read other like post-apocalyptic things. Mary Shelley has The Last Man where she does something similar where they have like a bloody face.
Yes.
And I kind of thought to myself, I'm like, wait, when did she write that? I wonder if he had read that kind of imagery of like that's kind of how those people died. If those of you who've read it, it's about plague. But yeah, I kind of thought I just really like the idea of that if you are infected, I mean, you can't hide from it either. So
absolutely. And I mean,
and for me, and for me, guys, like as far as the mask itself, just for me, it was just interesting what a false sense of security it also portrayed. You know what I mean? Especially at the end, it was like, you know, you're like Holly had mentioned and everyone had mentioned prior, you can't escape death. So regardless of these masks, you know what I mean? It's all an illusion.
Yeah, like you said, Crystal, like no matter if you're the prince, you have money, you're locked away, Yeah, false sense of illusion. Great job, Kay. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, I agree that false sense of security. And I think with all of us, being with the COVID era, and whether or not you had it or not, I got it and was pretty sick, and my husband was too. We got it at the same time. And I kind of, some days I would hide in my office at school because we were going physically to school every day, once the new school year started back that year. And I was like, am I going to get it today? Or am I ever going to get it? And there are people we know that have never gotten it, and that are teachers. And it's like, yeah, Jeannie's one of them.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it's just so insane to think about, I always say, and I read an article about this one time, Poe is a time traveler. It's like he came forward many years and took all the stuff back, and put them in 1800s forms. Holly, did you say, what did you said?
I said I wish he'd come visit me today.
I know. Maybe we should invite him to a Poe Unplugged. Maybe he'll show up.
Now that would be creepy.
Yes, I'll take it though. I'll take it.
I would rather he come back as he was, not dead.
Well, yeah.
I mean, come on.
That's what I say, time travel.
I like zombies. I'll do I'm dead. It's all good.
He might be just as interesting dead. Who knows?
I think he would.
Yeah.
I think he would.
And as for our newcomers, now you see, we always delve into the weirdness in this post.
Yes, we do.
So be prepared. It's probably going to get worse before it gets better.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. All right. Any other thoughts from you guys? Is it one of your favorite, or is it, because it is different than, some of the other ones. You don't really have, I don't know, you've got your main character of Prince Prospero, and, not a whole, there's all the other people that are there, but he doesn't have any kind of relationships with other people and things like that. I always kind of categorize it a little bit differently. I don't know if I would label it differently, but, it is horrific, but, I don't know. It just thoughts,
Well, one thing that popped into my head just now after you was talking is the saying of keep your friends close and your enemies closer. I was thinking about how, since he already had the rooms divided in certain areas, and he put certain people in there, I wonder if he put his friends closer to his room and kind of the middle, and then he placed those that were not his favorites, or the ones he wanted to go first and hopefully get out,
toward the violet and the black rooms.
Yeah, he went ahead and placed them, because in the story he starts placing the people in the different rooms in their masks.
Yeah, that's true.
So
that's a good point.
Yeah. So maybe
I
he's
think
just...
oh, sorry, Jeannie.
No, go ahead.
I mean, I'll never stop talking. So I think really, if you kind of look at it, like the whole story could be really a microcosm of ourselves. If we're talking about the different colors and stages of life, but like, we all have a little bit of like Prince Prospero in us, where we can be cruel and kind of uncaring and not trying to help other people, and kind of you can kind of look at it as like kind of like a lesson. Like if you behave this way and you essentially think you're better than everyone else, and you exclude other people from your friend circle or whatnot, you can kind of relate it to just life in general. Like you will get your comeuppance. So I mean, really, kind of like maybe a warning not to be, like death comes for all of us. You can't,
and we want you to
know
come
better
quicker
than anyone else.
We want it to happen to you quicker, so we don't have to deal with you. That's why we're going to stick you here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then I stopped our camera for just a moment because it was starting to flicker. Yes. And let's see, Micah added, I love the Shakespeare reference. Two powerful men of almost inexhaustible resources who end up isolating and protecting their own until they have to face certain realities. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Gotta have Shakespeare in there too.
Oh, yeah. Even though Poe didn't like Shakespeare.
Poe.
That's a whole other episode. That's a whole
They weren't friends.
No. I don't think Shakespeare had many friends. So
yeah, true.
He was the best hated villain of his own work.
Yeah.
So bouncing off of what Holly was saying, clearly, and I think this happens with every major disease that happens, those who have think because they are wealthier or because they're in higher status or places of power, that it can't happen to them.
Mm-hmm.
And there were those in the 1800s who viewed that way with, tuberculosis, until people of that stature started getting tuberculosis. And it was kind of a big reality check, I think, for a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yes.
it was one of those things that, they just associated with the poor, the
Mm-hmm.
ones
not good breeding.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
And Virginia
exactly.
and Levi have a really good episode about all about tuberculosis and what it's about. Yeah, you did a great job explaining. I learned a lot of stuff because I knew what it was, but not
Mhm.
in the extreme detail that you put it in. So thank you for that.
Yeah. No, yeah, sure. It was worth the nightmares that I had for several days after.
Poe is always worth the nightmares.
Yes.
That is
Yes.
true. That's true.
That is true. And let's see.
One of the reasons I love reading Poe. I'm just
Oh,
saying.
yeah. And then Micah added, and it was also true of how some entitled dealt with COVID. Absolutely. Yes.
Correct. I was going to say, again, one of those things where, I had somebody say, it said something to me because one of my clients at work, I had mentioned about, was going to be filming my podcast later that night. And this was Saturday afternoon. And she was like, "Oh, what's your podcast about?" And I always cringe a little inside when people ask me, because I'm like, they're going to think I'm crackers, and I'm like, it's about Edgar Allan Poe. And she goes, "Do people still read him? Is his stuff still relevant?" And I'm like, and if she had her eyes open, she would have seen my head contort in such a manner that you would have thought my head was going to explode.
Yes.
And become some kind of creature and bite her head off. But I didn't. I kept my composure. And I said, "Oh, absolutely." I was like, I can point you to a bunch of things that I think you might enjoy. And it's all directly either, retellings of his stories or stuff that's been inspired by his stories. And I was like, perhaps you should listen to my podcast.
Yes.
I just love doing that. But seriously, I mean, I'm not going to lie, at the beginning of COVID, when we were in lockdown, I was like, I think I'm going to read some stuff. And I got to Red Death, and that's always been one of my favorites. And I'm like, yeah, I can't read this right now. I couldn't do it. Because it was too close to home.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Too close to home.
And kind of even going back to, some of the diseases that were prominent during Poe's time, tuberculosis, especially, cholera, things like that. It is a wonder that Poe did escape those illnesses, diseases and things like that.
Sure.
Especially with Virginia having tuberculosis and it's being so, what's the word?
Prominent.
Yes, but I'm looking for
Contagious.
another word. Yes, thank you. Contagious. I told you I'm a little tired.
Right.
You're asking me to be your vocabulary person right now? Really? I don't know. We'll pick a random adjective. That's good.
I think I heard somebody about to say something.
Poe, I think that was.
It was you. Yes, it was Levi.
Yeah, I always think that too. That Poe is exposed to tuberculosis so frequently in his life and for long durations of time. It is quite a miracle that he never contracted it himself. He did contract cholera the last year of his life, and it kind of beat the hell out of him.
That's true.
But he did survive. He did survive it, but he did die a couple months later after surviving it. So, who knows if it had an effect on his overall health that could have contributed to his death, from other factors too later on.
That is very true.
And I know we were talking about kind of the status that went with tuberculosis and how it was, associated more with the poor in Poe's time. And I think about when it was published. And so it was published in May of 1842. And I know Virginia first started showing signs of tuberculosis in January of 1842, so just a few months prior. So you have to wonder, did Poe start writing it right after that and just took him a few months to get it perfected and published it? Was he already writing it and then Virginia contracted tuberculosis and that just kind of set him over the edge a bit and really helped him to perfect it? We don't really know the timeline there, but the two went hand in hand.
Hand in hand.
Yes.
And I wondered, was this kind of a message from Poe that, like, we know that he lived in pretty impoverished in a impoverished state with with his little family. So was this kind of a message like, hey, we're dealing with it and it's gonna come for you too. You can't hide in your mansions and your castles and your elegant rooms. It will come for you, it will find you. So we have to wonder a little bit, what was Poe's kind of mindset and his motives behind this particular story, and how close it was to home for him.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, what was it, just timing or was it purposeful? Absolutely.
Right.
Will added also, just a thought, Poe's substance abuse issues and denial, fear of death being near might also have inspired the story.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes back to the saying that we've all lived by, especially those of us that are writers or artists or something, is, write or paint what you know, what you feel, and all this. And, that's why most of Poe's stories, I feel that it's him. It's his life on the page. And he's just putting words to his own psyche.
Yeah.
What he's feeling, what he's experiencing, everything about it from a different point of view. And, because they'd already lived through, well, he hadn't, but the Black Plague, so he was pulling off of something that was true to life. And there was other plagues that came along, because it wasn't just one.
Oh, right.
Because the whole medieval times was a blanket of dark ages.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, pun intended.
Yes.
But anyway, so, and it just goes to show, and I think that's why a lot of people miss the Poe illusion in a lot of works, is because they've not put as much dedication into reading his works or understanding his works. Or it's like some people, they don't read them once they get out of school.
That is very true.
We have kids that hate reading in school, much less want to read out school. However, the Gothic graphic novels, good God, say that 5 times fast, have really put kids on that path of wanting to delve into that type. And they're seeing, they're seeing Poe, like with Holly's books. They're looking at Poe and they're seeing Poe, but it's not, it's not got them where they need to be with the trueness of Poe, but they do at least get Poe.
Yes. It gets them into the real Poe.
Thank you.
Yes.
It's a real Poe.
And let's see, Will also added, thankful for his wonderful creative talent to combat those demons. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I bring it back up once again. We always get lost in our art to kind of help deal with the demons and the monsters running around in our own head.
Yeah, for whatever they are.
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely.
Could be different each day.
Absolutely.
Each minute, each hour, each second. Okay. Anyway, so
final thoughts. What do you guys think?
Anything to add that we haven't kind of covered? Or
can I give a shout out? So, like, I'm really bad with technology. You probably heard me say this before. So I don't know how to share a link, but there is a voice actor narrator who does a lot of Edgar Allan Poe, Lovecraft stories, called the Tale Master. And he does. I don't know if you ever seen him. I was hoping Keith was here because I was assuming Keith probably would have listened to this. Yeah. But he does a narration of Masque of the Red Death, and it is hands down the very best. This guy, once you start reading, like listening to him, because he does Raven, he does all different ones.
Oh, nice!
Holy crap! He's called the Tale Master. If you look him up, like
he is. How's it spelled?
I think it's just
I'm
like
gonna
GAL.
look it up. I'm gonna look
It's
it
like
up.
GM Danielson. I think is his actual name. I'm saying that.
Okay, let's see.
Yeah.
Okay, you said the
Yeah.
Tail Master.
Yeah.
Yeah, because his like he does like he changes his voice. I mean, he is the voice actor of Poe. Like seriously, I wish he would do like a complete works. So if you haven't checked it out, it's well worth you checking out this guy's channel because he is by far the best. And I listen to a lot of audible books, or however you say that word. I listen to a lot of voice actors.
Yes.
And he is the best.
I think I found him on YouTube.
Yeah, Micah just posted
Oh,
it.
perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, Micah, you beat me to it. Thank you. Yeah, there's me.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Somebody put
But
something.
check this guy out. You guys will not be you will not regret
Disappointed.
it.
Cool. Oh, awesome. Yeah, we love, when everybody shares the different things.
Yeah.
Yeah, Holly does not lie. She sent me one that he narrated. It's unbelievable. I actually got chills. I was like, this is amazing.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I mean he is. And then like he does the emotional reading of the Raven, which I think is the best Raven reading as well. Because he has different versions of the reading. He does a creepy one, he does emotional, like romantic. Like he has all different versions, but yeah, well worth it.
Okay, cool.
Awesome. The Masquerade Death one. Yeah.
Oh, that'll be cool.
Yeah.
Let's see. Will added, yes, I really enjoyed this and glad I came upon it by happy accident. Any chance of you will be discussing the Telltale Heart soon? That's my mom's favorite. Oh, cool. We actually did the Telltale Heart on Poe Unplugged back in
October or November?
October.
October.
It was October.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was October, and Poe, we invited Poe Movies on. They were our Gothic guests that month.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we have published that one, haven't we?
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
And so it's on YouTube and Spotify. So go out, Will, and check that out. And we actually showed the Telltale Heart short movie that they made on the Poe Unplugged. Yeah. And so and they did a fantastic job with their movie. So
and Will, if you haven't already, sign up for our journal that we send out once a month that gives what we're going to be doing on Poe Unplugged and on our podcast every month. Yes. And you can find it on our website.
Yes, yes.
Which is just 6degreesofpoe.com.
Yes.
Wonderful.
And I was going to say, speaking of upcoming Poe Unplugs, next month it's going to be, we like to do it that last Tuesday of the month, and we are going to keep with that tradition on March 28th. And we're going to be discussing the Pit and the Pendulum. And I know Virginia and Levi are going to join us again, and it'll be awesome. And then in March, we are teaming up with Virginia and Levi to do a
live Facebook event.
Yes.
Which will turn into a podcast.
Yes. So for both of us.
Yes.
So we're really excited about that.
Yes.
We're excited.
Very excited.
Yes. And if you're in the Baltimore area, April 1st and 2nd, the Telltale Steampunk Festival is going on. And we will be there. And let's see, Virginia, you are definitely going to be there, right? But Levi is not going to be able to make it.
I'm going to be there.
Unfortunately, I'll be all the way up in Rhode Island.
Okay.
He'll be a float. He's going to be a floating head a la Futurama.
Yeah, as it should be.
Right.
So that's how we're going to end up doing, because we're doing a live. When I say quote unquote, where we're going to have a live studio audience. So
that will be great.
We're actually doing 2 different episodes. I don't have liberty to discuss what the second episode is yet.
That's okay.
It's legal stuff. But I promise it will be interesting. And then the first episode is a very special episode that we started planning for this last June when I got wrangled into this.
Cool. Oh, very cool.
So I was like, oh, we were gonna do that. We're gonna table that for the festival. So yeah, we've been waiting a year to do this.
Yeah, and a nice little plug for us, if you haven't already know about this, that we did an interview with the New York best-selling author AJ Jacobs just this past Thursday, and we will be posting also on our podcast the audio, but we will posting on YouTube our actual interview with him, and it should be up by what, this weekend?
Yeah, this weekend.
I don't even know what day it is. What day is this?
It's Tuesday.
Okay, it's Tuesday. All right. I don't know. I just show up when Carmen tells me to show up. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, please stay tuned to that.
Yes.
And he's an awesome guy.
He was amazing to talk to and pick his brain about ciphers, puzzles, cryptograms, everything. And we really had a good time talking to him.
Yeah, and his book called The Puzzler actually has an Edgar Allan Poe cipher in it.
Yes.
And he also came up with this book during quarantine.
Yes.
So he decided, hey, I'll do something while I'm stuck here in the house, and this is what came of it.
Yes.
So.
And one thing we learned from him is that all of his books that he writes, he immerses himself into whatever it is he's writing about. And so he literally immersed himself and even his family for some of it into all the types of puzzles out there. You name it, they tried it. And I apologize for the smoke. That was a very cool effect from my husband who's smoking a cigar next to it.
I saw that. I was like, it's getting creepy over there.
Maybe I should have
I was
just kept
about
that
to
quiet.
say, you guys have a ghost.
Yeah.
It's Poe.
Yeah, Poe finally arrived. He's a puff of smoke. Okay.
Yes.
But once again, check us out on everything.
YouTube,
and
Facebook,
Patreon,
Twitter.
Twitter.
Yeah, we have a Patreon now, as well as Virginia and Levi do as well.
Yeah,
so
yeah, and we would love to see everybody again next time. And
yes,
the pit and the pendulum will be swinging your way.
Yes, it will.
Sorry, bad pun again.
No, that was perfect.
All right.
That was perfect.
And Will,
I have a
again.
meeting that night, but hopefully it'll be a short one.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
We
Join late, Leila. Definitely.
Okay, it's condo meeting, but hopefully it won't be until like 9 o'clock my time. So
okay.
I'll try to join as much as I can. Yeah.
All right. That sounds great.
Hopefully you don't have a long-winded neighbor.
Yes. And Will, thank you for joining us. Yeah. Thank everybody. Thank you for joining us. We love our Unbooked Club.
Yes.
All about Poe, and we want to keep continuing to do this forevermore.
Exactly.
So
until next time, I do.
All right.
Good night.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.